Welcome to Backbone Unlimited. My name is Matt Hartsky. In this episode, I want to talk to you about shed hunting, something we all love, but not as a hobby, not as something you do to kill time in the spring, and not something just for the brown gold we all love. I want to talk about shed hunting as one of the most effective ways to combine spring conditioning with real world scouting and getting to look for that treasure if you approach all of it with intention. A lot of hunters either overlook shed hunting completely or treat it like casual walking if they're not out there hardcore shed hunting. They wander around, cover miles, maybe find a few antlers and call it a day. What they miss is that shed hunting done right quietly builds the exact physical and mental qualities that backcountry hunts demand in the fall. Spring is a tricky time for training. You push too hard and you burn matches before summer even starts. Do too little and you start the season behind. Shed hunting sits right in that sweet spot. It puts you on your feet for hours, moving through real terrain, climbing, side hilling, descending, and navigating uneven ground without the artificial intensity of forced conditioning. It also builds durability instead of just fatigue. At the same time, shed hunting teaches you things no map or e-scouting session ever will. It shows you where animals actually lived through winter. It reveals travel routes, bedding areas, pressure zones, and terrain features that mattered when survival was the priority. Those lessons don't disappear when seasons change. They carry straight into how animals move, hide, and respond to pressure in the fall. In this episode, I'm going to break down why shed hunting is one of the smartest ways to use your spring. We'll talk about how it conditions your body without beating it up, how it sharpens your eye for terrain and animal behavior, and how to approach shed hunting with purpose instead of randomness or just looking for antlers. If you want spring to build you, not wear you down, this episode will change how you look at shed hunting entirely. Shed hunting is one of the most effective forms of spring conditioning because it doesn't look or feel like traditional training, but it prepares you for the mountains better than most structured workouts this time of year. There's no artificial pace, no stopwatch, and no forced intensity. Instead, your body adapts naturally to the exact demands it will face during a real hunt. When you're shed hunting, you're moving for hours over uneven ground, you're climbing short pitches, side hilling across slopes, stepping over deadfall, and descending under control. That kind of movement builds joint tolerance, foot strength, balance, and stability in ways that flat trails and gym machines never will. Every step is slightly different, and that variability is what builds durability instead of breaking you down. Unlike early season cardio, shed hunting doesn't tax your system in a way that leaves you drained for days. The intensity stays moderate, but the volume adds up, and that's ideal in the spring when connective tissue and your joints need time under load without excessive fatigue. You finish these outings tired but not wrecked, and you can repeat them day after day without digging a recovery hole. Shed hunting also naturally enforces good pacing. You slow down to glass, you stop to scan terrain, you move with purpose instead of rushing. That mirrors how successful hunts actually unfold, especially in backcountry settings where efficiency matters more than speed. This isn't about miles covered, it's about time on your feet in real country. The biggest advantage is consistency. Shed hunting keeps you active through the spring without burning matches. It builds a base of movement capacity, strength, and resilience that you can layer structured training on top of. Instead of forcing fitness, you earn it quietly, step by step, in terrain that actually matters. One of the biggest benefits of shed hunting is how it builds mountain legs without ever feeling like a workout. You're out there having fun, right? You're not counting reps or chasing fatigue. You're just moving through terrain, and that's exactly why it works so well in the spring. Every step while shed hunting is a single leg demand. Stepping up, stepping down, side hilling, crossing uneven terrain, all of it forces one leg to accept load, stabilize the knee and hip, and control the body through space. That's the same demand you face during long climbs, steep descents, and heavy packouts in the fall. The difference is that shed hunting introduces those demands gradually and repeatedly instead of all at once on the hunt. Time on your feet matters more than intensity this time of year. Connective tissue adapts slowly, and shed hunting gives it consistent exposure that it needs. Ankles get stronger, knees learn to track under fatigue, hips become more stable as they absorb uneven movement over hours instead of minutes. These are the adaptations that keep hunters moving efficiently late into long days. Shed hunting also forces you to control descents, which is where a lot of hunters struggle and most injuries happen. Downhill movement loads joints differently, requiring eccentric strength and control. Walking down a slope while scanning, stepping carefully, and maintaining balance under light fatigue builds that capacity naturally. No treadmill or stair machine does it the same way. The key is that none of this feels rushed. You're not sprinting uphill or grinding intervals. You're accumulating work in a way that your body can absorb. That's why shed hunting doesn't leave you beat up, yet still makes you stronger. By the time summer arrives, hunters who spent spring shed hunting often don't realize how prepared they already are. Their legs feel reliable, their joints feel conditioned, and when harder training begins, their bodies are ready to handle it instead of resisting it. Shed hunting isn't just physical preparation either. It's some of the most honest scouting you can do all year. When you're walking winter range and transition zones in the spring, you're seeing where animals actually survived, not where we think they should be based on maps or theory. Sheds tell stories. Where you find antlers matters far more than how many you find. They show you winter concentration areas, preferred travel routes, bedding locations, and how animals use terrain when survival, not convenience, was the priority. That information doesn't disappear when spring ends. It becomes the foundation for understanding how animals move, hide, and respond to pressure later in the year. Shed locations often reveal overlooked terrain, benches tucked just below ridge lines or timbered edges just above slopes, side hills that avoid exposure. Those are places animals choose when they want security and efficiency. When you find sheds consistently in certain features, it's a really strong indicator that those features solve problems for animals year after year. Shed hunting also shows you pressure in a way fall scouting rarely does. You'll see where animals avoided people, roads, and access points during the hardest months of the year. That avoidance often mirrors how they respond to pressure during hunting seasons as well. If animals stayed tight to certain cover or terrain in winter, there's a good chance they'll use similar features when pressure increases in the fall. Another overlooked benefit is learning travel routes without distractions. There are no bugles, no velvet antlers, no movement to choose. You're forced to read terrain and sign instead of reacting. That sharpens your ability to recognize subtle transitions and connections that maps alone can't show. Shed hunting turns scouting into something physical and immersive. You're not just looking at lines on a screen, you're feeling the terrain, seeing sight lines, and understanding why animals choose one path over another. That kind of knowledge sticks, and it quietly makes you more effective when it counts. Shed hunting forces you to learn terrain the hard way by moving through it, not just studying it. Maps and e-scouting are valuable, but they can't fully teach you how animals actually use terrain when conditions are tough. Spring sheds show you those answers on the ground. Aspect becomes obvious fast. You'll notice how often sheds show up on south-facing and southeast-facing slopes where snow melts first and feed appears earliest. You'll also see how animals use shade, timbered edges, and broken ground to balance warmth and security. That balance is something maps suggest, but boots on the ground experience makes real. Elevation lessons come the same way. Shed hunting teaches you where animals actually spent time at specific elevation bands during winter and transition periods. You'll see how even small changes in elevation can shift snow depth, feed availability, and wind exposure. Those same elevation preferences often show up again in fall when animals are trying to solve similar problems under pressure. Terrain shape matters more than size. Big open basins might look great on a map, but sheds often show up on benches, finger ridges, and subtle transitions just off the obvious features. These are places animals can feed briefly, bed securely, and move efficiently without exposing themselves. Shed hunting trains your eye to look for these details instead of defaulting to the biggest piece of country. Step into the backcountry and step up your elk hunting game at Elk Camp 2026. This isn't a seminar, it's an immersive experience with real field training alongside successful elk hunters Matt and Saxton Hartsky. You'll learn how elk think and move, break down terrain like a pro, call with confidence, and practice 3 days of real-world elk hunting scenarios that mirror what you'll face on your own hunt. This camp was built to bridge the gap between where you are and where you want to be in the mountains. With limited spots and hands-on coaching, you'll walk away sharper, more prepared, and ready to hunt with purpose and confidence. Elk Camp 2026. Sharpen your edge.
Register now and prepare for the season like never before at backboneunlimited.com.
You also learn how terrain feels to move through. Side hills that look manageable on a map may be exhausting in real life. Travel routes that seem indirect might actually be the easiest path on the ground. That physical understanding changes how you plan routes, glassing positions, and setups later in the year. These lessons don't come from just staring at a screen. They come from repetition, observation, and time in the same terrain animals rely on. Shed hunting compresses years of abstract learning into a single spring you can pay attention to, and those lessons carry straight into every hunt that follows. Shed hunting trains your mind just as much as your body, and that's another piece a lot of hunters overlook. Long days of slow movement, scanning terrain, and covering ground without immediate reward build patience and focus in a way few workouts ever will. There's no adrenaline, no constant feedback, and no guarantee you'll find anything. So that environment forces discipline. You'll learn to manage effort instead of burning it. When you know you have hours left to cover country, you stop rushing climbs and start choosing better lines. You pay attention to where you're stepping, how you're breathing, and when it makes sense to push versus slow down. That same decision-making process shows up during long hunts in the fall when fatigue and pressure start to stack. Shed hunting also sharpens your ability to read sign and adjust on the fly. You might start in one area expecting sheds and find nothing. Instead of quitting or forcing miles, you reassess. You look at aspect, elevation, feed, and pressure. You make small changes and you test them out. That process builds confidence in your judgment instead of relying on hope. There's also value in learning to stay engaged without constant stimulation. In the fall, hunters often get distracted chasing sounds, sightings, or other people's information. Shed hunting strips that away. You're alone with the terrain and your decisions. You learn to trust your observations and stay committed to a plan long enough to see if it works. That mental toughness built here isn't about grit for grit's sake. It's about clarity under low stimulation and fatigue. You learn how to keep moving forward when nothing obvious is happening and how to stay patient when progress is slow. That mindset carries directly into backcountry hunts where success often comes from staying steady when others start forcing things. Shed hunting only becomes valuable conditioning and scouting if you approach it with purpose. Wandering aimlessly and hoping to stumble across antlers turns it into a casual walk. Moving with intent turns it into preparation that you want to do over and over again. The first shift is slowing down. Shed hunting rewards patience, not just mileage. Move at a pace that allows you to actually read terrain, scan edges, and notice subtle signs. Most sheds aren't lying in the middle of open ground, right? They're tucked into transitions, bedding areas, and travel routes where animals spent time consistently. If you're racing to cover ground, you walk past more information than you collect. Let the terrain guide your movement. Start with south-facing slopes, benches, timber edges, and areas that offer winter feed and security. Instead of just zigzagging randomly, work features methodically. Move contour lines, right? Follow ridges down. Check edges where cover meets open ground. This mirrors how animals move, and it's going to keep your effort focused. Glassing matters more than a lot of guys think as well. Even while walking, take time to stop, scan ahead, and look into cover. Antlers don't always pop immediately, and the habit of stopping to glass carries straight into your fall hunts. It also forces recovery breaks that keep fatigue manageable over long outings. Intentional shed hunting also means knowing when to push and when to back off. Some days are about longer loops and building time on the feet. Other days are about precision, working a small area thoroughly and learning everything it can teach you. Both have value if you're honest about the actual goal of the outing. And finally, treat each shed hunt as data collection. Take a mental note of everything that you're experiencing. Where were the sheds found? What aspect? What elevation? What cover? Patterns emerge quickly when you pay attention. Shed hunting isn't about the antlers you carry out. It's also about the understanding you carry forward. Shed hunting works best when it's part of a bigger spring plan, not the only thing you do. Think of it as the connective tissue between structured training and real-world application. It fills the gap that gyms and programs can't. In the spring, the goal isn't just peak fitness, it's momentum without burnout. Shed hunting gives you consistent movement, terrain exposure, and mental engagement without forcing intensity too early. That makes it the perfect complement to strength-focused training. You can lift, build joint durability, and work on movement quality during the week, then use shed hunting to apply that strength in real terrain on the weekends. This approach also replaces a lot of unnecessary cardio. Instead of forcing miles on a treadmill or chasing heart rate zones that don't transfer well, you're getting hours of low to moderate output in uneven country. That kind of work builds an aerobic base naturally while reinforcing posture, balance, and foot placement. You're conditioning the system without draining it. Another benefit is recovery. Shed hunting promotes active recovery rather than stagnation. Blood flow increases, joints stay mobile, and soreness clears out without needing complete rest. It's better than taking a zero. Done right, it helps you feel better going into the next training session instead of actually feeling worse or slowing down your recovery. It also keeps you mentally invested in the season ahead. Spring can feel disconnected from fall if all you're doing is training indoors. Shed hunting keeps your head in the mountains. You're constantly thinking about terrain, animals, pressure, and movement. That mental continuity makes the transition into summer scouting and fall hunts feel more natural instead of rushed or disjointed. The smartest spring plans aren't extreme either. They're sustainable. Shedding helps you stay consistent, durable, and engaged without burning matches early. When summer arrives, you're not starting over, you're building on a base that was earned the right way, one deliberate step at a time. Shed hunting is one of the rare spring activities that pulls double duty without asking for more than it should. It conditions your body, sharpens your mind, and teaches you lessons about animals and terrain that no workout plan or map session can replace. When approached with intent, it becomes preparation disguised as exploration. The mistake a lot of hunters make is treating spring like downtime, or on the opposite end, like a race to get fit as fast as possible. Shed hunting lives in the middle. It builds time on the feet without forcing intensity. It's fun. It strengthens joints without beating them up. It teaches patience, discipline, and efficient movement without ever feeling artificial. And all of those qualities are exactly what backcountry hunts demand when days stack up and mistakes compound. Just as important, shed hunting keeps you connected to the landscape. You're seeing where animals actually survived. You're learning how terrain, aspect, elevation, and pressure shape behavior when conditions are harsh. Those insights don't disappear when antlers hit the ground. They carry straight into how you scout, how you move, and how you make decisions in the fall. The best hunters I know don't waste spring. They use it to quietly prepare while others either do nothing or burn themselves out too early. Shed hunting done right helps you arrive at summer stronger, more durable, and more confident in your understanding of the country you hunt. It's not about how many antlers you find, it's about how prepared you become while looking for them. If you're serious about taking this kind of preparation deeper, that's exactly why I built Team Backbone. It's more than just a membership, it's an inner circle for hunters who want to train with purpose, hunt smarter, and stop guessing whether they're actually prepared. Inside Team Backbone, you get 20% off site wide on all Backbone Unlimited gear, the option to have a t-shirt shipped to your door every month, and full access to the digital content vault. That vault includes training advice, backcountry strategies, checklists, guides, and mindset tools built specifically for Western hunters. You'll also get access to a private Facebook group with direct access to me and a community of driven hunters who live relentless, plus direct call, text, or email access for personalized advice on training, hunting strategy, or just sharpening your edge. On top of that, you're automatically entered into exclusive monthly gear giveaways. This is built for the hunters who want to do things right, not just do them hard. If that's you, Team Backbone is waiting for you at backboneunlimited.com underneath our membership tab. Thanks for being here. I appreciate all of you. Until next time, train harder, hunt smarter, and never settle.